WWE Royal Rumble 2019 is this Sunday from Chase Field in Phoenix, Arizona. The company is expecting about 40,000 people inside the stadium, although only about 25 to 30,000 of that is likely to be paid attendance. And if you want to get a sense of how slow ticket sales have been, they false advertised Braun Strowman versus Brock Lesnar for a month, even though they supposedly had no intention of delivering that match. Even when they first announced it, they only did that to try to move tickets. And up until the last week or so, and they might still be doing it, I don't know, but up until the last week at least, they were offering 2-for-1 deals on tickets. I'm sure once it's showtime, the stadium will look pretty packed, but it will not be sold out. I like that they're doing it, though, in a baseball stadium. We've only really, in the last, 20 years, I guess. I can't remember another baseball stadium show like this that WWE has done since WrestleMania 19. They may have done some kind of stadium show prior to that. Just riffing off the top of my head, I can't think of one. Obviously, they've been in a bunch of football stadiums. I think it's going to make for a cool setting. It is a nice stadium. I haven't been there, but I've heard good things about it. I'm hoping for some cool dugout entrances. Daniel Bryan sort of spilled the beans on that last week. At least I hope he did. So we'll see what kind of setup and how the entrances are. I said this on Twitter the other day because they have a pool. For those who don't know, in the right, kind of beyond the right center field fence is a pool area. Actually, there might be 2 small swimming pools that people can rent out during baseball games. And I am going to be very disappointed if we do not get camera cutaways to the pool out in the right field stands with heavy machinery. And if we don't get shots of them cooking some steaks, some shots of Otis acting all wacky. Very disappointed if we don't see that. Chase Field is also offering what they are calling, this has become a story in the last 24 hours, they are offering the Royal Rumble Burger to all of the fans who are going to be in attendance. They describe it on their Twitter as an 18-ounce pork bratwurst patty on an onion roll with cheddar cheese, smoked bacon, crispy coleslaw, fried onions on an onion roll, ugh, and barbecue aioli topped with fried mac and cheese wedges. I think I got a 98% blockage just reading that. You got to see a picture of this thing. This thing looks 3 feet tall. Just remember, all you people who can't wait to go eat this thing, and a lot of you are all amped up, man, I can't wait, I'm going to try this thing out. Just remember one thing, including the kickoff on Sunday, this is a 6-hour show. So enjoy those bathroom blowouts, bring a magazine, have some mercy on the person going into the bathroom stall after you. The kickoff show begins at 5 p.m. Eastern with 2 championship matches, at least as of the day. I'm recording this here on the Thursday night before the Rumble. It's possible they could add another match. I don't think it's necessary, but you never know. But right now there's 2 championship matches slated for the kickoff show. We have a fatal 4-way for the Cruiserweight title. It will be Buddy Murphy defending against Kalisto, Akira Tozawa, and Hideo Itami. Daniel Bryan had cut a promo the other night, I guess backstage at Smackdown. And this might have just been for WWE.com, so I'm not sure how many of you saw this, but he was in the back, he was cutting a little promo about Hideo Itami, and how in a match many years ago in Ring of Honor, Itami busted his eardrum, which Bryan never had fixed. And so to this day, he cannot hear out of his left ear. He also can't dunk his head underwater if he goes swimming. And so he's, cutting this promo, and then he teases. He says, if Itami ever comes to SmackDown, he's going to get what he's got coming to him. So they didn't flat out say that Hideo Itami is going to come to SmackDown, but if he ever does, Daniel Bryan's going to be looking for him, because the two of them have history. That'd be fine with me. Although we still haven't gotten that Daniel Bryan Shinsuke Nakamura match on television. I think they had a dark match once after a SmackDown taping. I'd like to get that match first before we start talking about Bryan and Itami. But anyway, I think Murphy retains here. this should be a great match. I checked out 205 Live for the first time in a few weeks on Tuesday. Pretty much watched the entire thing because I had heard that Aiden English has just been added to the 205 Live announce team. So he will now join Vic Joseph and Nigel McGuinness every week. Because apparently in this company, no WWE show is immune to the three-man booth. Two men are just not enough. So we need a third wheel. And so they've added him. I thought he was fine, for somebody who really hasn't done this before. I thought he sounded fine, and I'm sure he'll get comfortable and better over time. He will not be calling this match, though, on Sunday. They've already announced the announce team for this match is going to be Vic Joseph, Nigel McGuinness, and Percy Watson. So all you Percy Watson fans from NXT, all 12 of you can listen to his commentary here for this match. But yeah, Buddy Murphy retains as my pick. The other kickoff match, we have Rusev defending the United States Championship against former champion Shinsuke Nakamura, the winner of last year's Royal Rumble match. Oh, how the mighty have fallen. From winning the Royal Rumble to being on the Royal Rumble kickoff show, all in the span of 1 year. Nakamura, of course, has no chance of repeating his Rumble win. If he does end up in the Royal Rumble match, I don't know if he's officially been announced or not. I would have to think he and Rusev both would be in there, but if he is, he has zero chance of repeating. And I don't think he's very likely to win back the U.S. title here either. I'm picking Rusev to retain. I think you need to keep the championship on him another month so that Andrade Cien Almas can take it from him, and then he can defend that mask versus title against Rey Mysterio at WrestleMania. Then we have the main show. The main show kicks off at 7 p.m. Eastern Time. We have The Bar defending their SmackDown Tag Team titles, that is, against the team of The Miz and Shane McMahon, or Shaymiz, I guess you would call them. Now, on SmackDown Tuesday, The Bar left the two of them laying. Shane ate a pretty stiff brogue kick to the face. Well, I mean, I guess every brogue kick from Sheamus is stiff. I think the end goal here, I still feel, it seems pretty obvious to me that the end goal here is probably a singles match at WrestleMania between Shane and The Miz. And if that is the end goal, then them winning the tag team titles here actually does make sense. Because you've got two pay-per-views after the Royal Rumble before WrestleMania, right? We've got Elimination Chamber next month, and then in March we have Fastlane. Oh, WWE Fastlane, right? Can't wait for that. Can't wait for them to go on TV in the end of February and say WWE Fastlane every 10 seconds on TV. So you've got two pay-per-views sandwiched in between the two big ones here. And, if that is the destination, you've got to drag this out. You've got to stretch this out somehow. I think they should win the tag team titles. I think they do win the tag team titles. I'm picking Shane and Miz to win. And I think plenty of time for them to drop the belts and for one of them to turn on the other. Now, there were rumblings, no pun intended, a while back, right, a couple months ago, that Shane McMahon was in line for a heel turn. Then the Raw ratings went to shit. I mean, they've been pretty much in the shitter now for the better part of a year. I saw Monday night the largest drop-off ever in audience from Monday Night Raw from the first hour to the third hour. It was like something like 24% or something crazy like that. No football to blame. So that's pretty scary for WWE. But, we have the shakeup, and that sort of disrupted whatever plans they may have had for the Shane McMahon heel turn. Doesn't mean he still can't turn heel. It just means whatever those plans were at least temporarily shelved. So the question is, who turns on who? I still think at the end of the day, Miz is much better as a heel. I think it's the Miz who will be the one turning if either of them do. And look, I think this is Sting and Ric Flair all over again from 1995 in WCW, where Sting told Flair, remember, I'll be your partner, but you better not screw me, right? And so what happened? Of course, the Horsemen screwed over Sting because Sting was an idiot, and he never learned his lesson. Shane, the reason I bring this up is because on TV many weeks ago when he agreed to be Miz's partner, if you remember, Shane said the exact same thing to The Miz. When he agreed to be tag team partners with him, he said, you better not screw me. This is Sting and Flair, I think, all over again. This is Sting and the Horsemen, although not as good. But I think they win the titles here. I think things go south between them in the next several weeks. Miz turns on Shane. And there's your WrestleMania match. Shane gets his obligatory singles match at WrestleMania. But they win the belts first. We have Asuka defending her SmackDown Women's Championship against Becky Lynch. This should be a good match. This is not one that I much cared for when it was first announced, because I thought, and I still kind of do. Becky, well, first of all, there's no doubt, Becky Lynch should enter the Women's Royal Rumble match. Okay, and she should win. And it could still happen. But either she wins the championship and she doesn't go to the Rumble match, which I think would be a mistake, or she loses to Asuka. Now, if she loses to Asuka and then wins the Rumble, I guess no big deal. But I don't think Becky Lynch should be losing. She already lost at TLC. Wasn't one-on-one, but still, she lost. But I don't think Becky Lynch, in this current role here, should be losing very often. So her to, let's say, lose straight up to Asuka, I think would be a huge mistake. And I'm not going to get into what I think is going down just yet. I'm going to talk about Ronda in a second and sort of piece all this together and why I think that Becky Lynch is going to win the championship here. She's my pick. I am picking Becky Lynch to regain the SmackDown Women's title. And I'll kind of get into why a little bit more here now, because the other Women's Championship match, of course, the Raw Women's title is on the line. Ronda Rousey will defend the Raw Women's title against Sasha Banks. First time ever, Ronda versus Sasha. And for the first time this past Monday night on Raw, Ronda Rousey was on the losing end of a match. She did not eat the fall, but she teamed up with Natty against Sasha and Bayley, and Natty tapped out to the Banks statement. Sasha had a little wardrobe malfunction during the match. She made an ass out of herself. Don't tell James, the WWE guy. He might get excited. Ronda was in the news this week. Actually, she was in the news all day as I'm recording this. Today was the day that everybody was talking about Ronda Rousey and her contract situation. And, is she going to quit? Not quit, but is she going to basically wrap up after WrestleMania? What's going on with her? And this all stemmed from a report in this week's Wrestling Observer, right? I'm sure many of you have heard about this by now, saying that there was a very good chance. The rumor and the chatter was that there was a very good chance that Ronda Rousey would be finishing up, at least full-time, with WWE at WrestleMania. That would be her final match, at least for a while. Even though, I believe it was actually the Observer last year that reported she signed a multi-year contract with WWE. And Pro Wrestling Sheet, later in the day, they posted their own update clarifying that the truth may be more sort of in the middle here, and that it might just be more of a situation where she might take a break to try to start a family. Not so much that she's done with the company, she's going to leave and not come back or just wrestle once a year, but, she wants to possibly start a family. Now, TMZ went and got a statement from WWE, which said Ronda Rousey is under contract with WWE until April 10th of 2021. We don't normally hear WWE come out and give specific dates like that on whose contract is expiring when, but I guess they wanted to quash this before it becomes an even bigger story. And so now we know the exact date to the day that Ronda's contract expires. So she's not going anywhere. She is not going anywhere. Now, whether or not she wants to start a family, WWE in this statement said it is a private matter. Ronda Rousey wanting to have kids and possibly start a family, this is no big secret. She has publicly talked about this very openly before. She wants to start a family. That is a goal that she has. And, look, that's a reality that a lot of these women, who work in this company have to face. Do you want to start a family or not? And if so, if they do get pregnant, that's going to have a big impact on your career, because that's at least 9 months right there out of the ring. I mean, no woman has a baby and is back in the ring the next day. That's why I say at least 9 months. You could be out the better part of a year. That's a year out of your career. And so, yeah, that's why I say, the guys are a lot easier, right? They want to have a kid. What do? They go play whoopee with the wife, and then they go about their business. They go back to work. They don't have to worry about that kind of stuff. With the women, though, it's very different. If Ronda really wants this, she can't wrestle. You can't have both. It's as simple as that. So she's going to have to make a choice. If she does leave, she can hold her head up high. I think that she did good, quite frankly, in her short run here in the company. She turned a lot of heads with her in-ring work. I didn't quite know what to expect when I first saw her. And from the very first match that she had, which I'm sure was very rehearsed and very practiced, but you think back to that tag team match last year at WrestleMania, everybody involved, Stephanie, Kurt Angle, Triple H, Ronda, they played their part perfectly. I thought that was the best match last year at WrestleMania. It blew everything else out of the water. And she's taken to pro wrestling. She's been a fan her whole life. She's taken to this like a duck to water. Some people just are naturals at it. Kurt Angle was another example of that. He was a natural at it. And Ronda, it was a lot like him in a lot of ways. She never really looked out of place. Her promos and stuff, even now. I mean, she cut a promo backstage on Raw last Monday that I almost had my head in my hands. So she's hit or miss, but she's gotten a lot better even on the microphone when it comes to that kind of stuff. So I think that if this is, let's say, going to be it for her for a while and she does decide to take a break, she's got nothing to be ashamed about. She's had a hell of a run. She's been protected. Obviously, I mean, she's been protected a lot more than the average woman would be in this company, so that helps. But she's never embarrassed herself. She's never embarrassed wrestling. I think she's been a great ambassador in a lot of ways. This company got exactly what they wanted to out of her. And this big, fat new TV contract that they just signed with Fox and the billions of dollars that with all the TV money they've got coming to them, Ronda Rousey had a lot to do with that. So for all the people who don't like Ronda, or if there's women in the company who are jealous or resentful of her, some women might be happy to see her go. I'm sure there must be some people who feel that way. They ought to think about that first. Because when that TV money comes trickling in, part of that is due to the fact that they had Ronda Rousey under contract in their stable. That was a very attractive thing, I'm sure, that came up in those negotiations with Fox. So this deal that they made with her has already paid off for them in spades. But before any of that happens, she's got to deal with Sasha Banks, right? That's first and foremost. That's the match on Sunday. The two of them have been going at it tooth and nail on social media, back and forth. Sasha, in particular, has been very vocal lately. She was on the Edge and Christian pod of awesomeness that they have, and she was being very outspoken about a lot of different things. And she said, for example, that she only found out about working with Ronda the day before Ronda went on Raw and first name dropped her. She didn't know that any of this was happening until the day before. She says they both wish, she wishes they had more time to build up to the match. And part of the problem, she says, is that WWE just runs way too many pay-per-views. Basically, she was saying out loud what all of us, I think a lot of us, some of us say out loud, some people don't say out loud, but she flat out said that this company runs too many pay-per-views. She said, look, once the Royal Rumble is over, we've got 3 weeks until the Elimination Chamber, then we have the Chamber. And then you got another 3 weeks until Fastlane, and then you got 4 weeks until WrestleMania. There's never enough time. This is what she said. There's never enough time to sit and digest these stories. And she's not wrong. She's 100% right. And the fact that she would say so publicly tells me that she doesn't care if she gets in trouble for saying this. And you might think, well, that's not going to do her any favors come Sunday. But you know what? I disagree. In fact, not only do I disagree, I am picking Sasha Banks to win the Raw Women's Championship and hand Ronda Rousey her first singles defeat at the Royal Rumble. And that was my pick even before this news came out today about Ronda and how she might be finishing up soon. I recorded my Rumble picks for Matt. Shout out to Matt over at Wrestle Rumble. Did a video for him that went up a couple days ago. And my picks haven't changed. So if you've seen the video, I'm not waffling on who I think is winning the Women's Rumble, which we'll get to later. But Sasha Banks is my pick. I know that a lot of people are probably going to have Ronda as their pick. She is undefeated. Some people might think, why beat Ronda? That's stupid. She's been unbeaten this whole time. Why not wait until WrestleMania, and then you can have, let's say, Becky Lynch be the first person to beat her. That's a fine idea, too. I don't have anything against that. But I also don't think it's the end of the world if Sasha wins the championship here, at least given the way that I think it's going to play out. So I think that it is backwards to do it the way that I think it's going to go down, with Becky Lynch going into WrestleMania as the champion and having Ronda Rousey be the one to challenge. I just can't shake this feeling, though, that that's exactly what we're going to get here. I think that after Becky wins back the title from Asuka, that match happens first. She wins back the SmackDown Women's Championship earlier in the night. I think what happens is that she and/or Charlotte, because you can have both of them. I mean, they're not going to be working together in cahoots or anything, but both women have a beef, a justifiable beef with Ronda Rousey, and both women have an incentive to want to cost Ronda the championship because Ronda did the exact same thing to them a month ago at TLC. So I think what's going to go down here is that you're going to have Becky win the belt back. You're going to have Becky and/or Charlotte stick their nose in this match and cost Ronda the championship. Now, I know Charlotte on SmackDown Tuesday had some unkind words for Sasha in her promo. But this is not about them helping Sasha. It's not really about that. It's not as much about them helping Sasha as it is them getting revenge, paying back Ronda for what she did to them last month. So this is a match I'm looking forward to. I don't care what the outcome is. Regardless of the outcome, I am looking forward to this match. Sasha Banks has not been featured much, at least not prominently, over the past year. And I know that has been unbelievably frustrating for her. It is not hard to see that. You listen to her speak in interviews. I mean, I've had a couple people tell me that is the case, who know her. And look, I don't need people to tell me that. I could tell just by looking at her and listening to her. She clearly is very frustrated with the year that she has had and the position that she has been in. She wants to be doing more. She wants to contribute more. She hasn't had that option. Well, guess what? Now she does. This is a big match for her. And it may be on short notice, but this is her chance to go out there and steal the show. This is the match she wanted. She wanted Ronda, she got Ronda. This is her chance to steal the show the way that she did with Bayley in NXT. Now, I think all the signs point to me being wrong on this, especially with the women's tag team titles being decided next month. We know that we're going to have new women's tag team champions crowned in the Elimination Chamber match, and that is a natural fit for Sasha and Bayley. I don't see how they're not in that match, if not win the tag team titles. And so there's that, and I agree that Becky going after Ronda's title is the better way to go, but these are called predictions. These are not called hopes and dreams. And so I'm sticking with Sasha. She's my pick to win the title here. We have AJ Styles challenging Captain Planet for the WWE Championship. We had a face-off between AJ and Bryan on SmackDown Tuesday night, moderated, in effect, by Vince McMahon, although Bryan refused to get into the ring. He didn't want to be anywhere near AJ, so he stayed outside the ring, and he was cutting this promo on AJ Styles about how he wants all of his fans to eat unhealthy food and wear his merch. Well, look, he's not wrong about the food part. If AJ's fans eat that Rumble burger they're offering on Sunday, he's not going to have many fans left. They're all going to drop dead. Bryan says he sees his power as being for the greater good. It's not to enrich himself. He's not the people's champion. He called himself the planet's champion. I think that the one thing we can say for sure about this match is that it's going to be a kick-ass match. I think it would be impossible for these two to go in there, especially on a stage like this, big crowd, and have anything but a very good match. So I think we're in for maybe the best match on the entire show. As far as which way it goes, which way it swings, I think Bryan is going to retain the championship. I did float an idea a few weeks ago for, AJ to win the belt back, and then we end up with, Rollins going on to WrestleMania to challenge him instead of the conventional wisdom, which is Lesnar. And as cool as I think that would be, again, these are predictions, not hopes, I don't see Bryan losing the championship so quickly. So I think he retains the title here, and moves on. Because as much as I love seeing AJ and Bryan one-on-one, this, I think, would be a nice way to sort of end things and both men move on to other opponents heading into WrestleMania. So I'm picking Bryan to retain. We then get to the Universal Championship. What was going originally to be Braun Strowman challenging Brock Lesnar is now Finn Balor trying to reclaim the Universal title that he never lost against the part-time beast, Brock Lesnar. Jay in the UK sent me an email pointing out that each of Brock Lesnar's last 3 matches, Crown Jewel against Braun Strowman, Survivor Series against Daniel Bryan, and now the Royal Rumble against Finn Balor, all of them were changed with about 1 week's notice, which is an interesting pattern. So I don't know what that means, other than these people don't know what they're doing. I'd like to think they do, but yes, last minute changes to Brock Lesnar's list of opponents over the last several months. That seems to be the theme. We got to see Balor in the ring, physically side by side in the ring with Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, as if, you know, people already don't have this complex about this guy, him being too small. They had to put him in the ring with both Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar. So, of course, naturally, he looked tiny compared to both of them. But he got a fair amount of offense in. I thought that they did about as good of a job as they could have done on the go-home show, making him look at least somewhat competitive, like he can hang with this guy. He was flying all over the place. He was knocking Braun down. He was knocking Brock off the apron. Brock was out there for a Finn Balor-Braun Strowman match, observing. He was at ringside watching the match when things started to break down. And like I said, Balor was knocking him around too. He did a big dive out onto Brock on the floor. And Balor actually had the match seemingly well in hand. We'll never know. He was going up for the double stomp. And I think he hit, did he hit the double stomp? I think he did. He hit the double stomp on Strowman, but before he can get the pin, Brock slid back into the ring, hit an F5, and left him laying. So that was the big angle that they did on Monday. They are keeping this beef alive between Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, which at least keeps open the possibility that Braun is going to cost Brock the championship. He'll interfere. He'll cost Brock the title. That is the only way that I see Finn Balor winning the championship here. And I don't see that happening. I don't see that happening. Balor told ESPN, by the way, for those wondering about the whole demon thing, that he is not planning to wear the demon paint for this match. He says this is all Finn Balor the man. Finn Balor the person, the mortal, the mere mortal, going into this match. Now, he could just be working everybody. Wouldn't be the first time he's been fucking with people. That's always possible. But I don't think we're going to see the demon here. I think that Balor puts up a valiant fight. I think Brock will throw him around and suplex him around for a good 5 minutes, maybe longer. And then he'll bump his ass off for the guy. Not unlike what he did with AJ Styles and not unlike what he did at the Survivor Series with Daniel Bryan. But in the end, much like those matches, he hits the F5. Thanks for coming. Brock Lesnar retains the Universal Championship. I do not see him dropping that title here on this show. Now, let me float kind of a wild idea by all of you, because I'm curious to gauge your feedback. What if Finn Balor loses to Brock Lesnar, which seems very likely, then he returns later in the show as the Demon to win the Royal Rumble match, and he then chooses later on to challenge either Daniel Bryan or AJ Styles, whoever comes out as the WWE Champion, for that title at WrestleMania. Would you be mad? Would you be mad at that idea, or would you be okay with that? Would you even like to see that? Would you be down for that? I don't think it happens, but yeah, you know what? Me personally, I'd be down for that. I'm always down for a new Royal Rumble winner, somebody who hasn't won before. But I think that would be a very clever idea if they wanted to go down that road. You have Balor, just plain old Finn Balor, have a great showing but fall short against Brock Lesnar, and all of a sudden later on, boom, there's the Demon, and he wins the whole thing. Here's the problem with that idea. I believe I've heard him talk about before that it takes him about 3 hours or so to have that paint applied to his body. So I'm not really sure how realistic that idea even is. You know, you figure he has his match, guy's got to shower, he's got to dry off, has to have the paint put on. I don't know how realistic that is. But hey, you know what? If Mick Foley can enter the Royal Rumble 3 different times as 3 different characters, then Finn Balor can enter the Royal Rumble as the Demon. I just put that idea out there. We then have the Women's Royal Rumble match. Only the second ever in WWE history. Asuka has the honor of being the first ever Women's Royal Rumble winner. And this year she is not in it. The announced team is going to be Tom Phillips, Corey Graves, Renee Young, and Beth Phoenix. Forza crowd. But that's your announced team for the Women's Rumble. Carmella is set to enter at number 30 by virtue of her and R-Truth winning the Mixed Match Challenge. And unless, of course, Truth tries to take her spot. He mistakenly comes out thinking, I'm number 30, although he's number 30 in the Men's Rumble, but he doesn't realize that, and he comes out and tries to take Carmella's spot. I'm not sure how, if they let him in or what happens then, but I could see that happening. We know Alexa Bliss is back. She announced on Monday night that she will be in the Rumble match. She's been out for a few months, waiting to be cleared from a concussion. I do expect a few, well, I mean at least one, if not a few, NXT names in there. I'm not just talking Nikki Cross or Lacey Evans. Technically, they're not NXT people anymore. But I think, depending on what happens at the TakeOver show on Saturday, because again, as I'm recording this, the show hasn't happened yet, we have that Women's Championship match between Shayna Baszler and Bianca Belair. I think it's one of those two. I think it's either Bianca or Shayna. I'm going to say whoever the champion is, whoever the NXT Women's Champion is coming out of that match, and I think it'll be Shayna Baszler, I think will be the one to have a cameo here in the Women's Royal Rumble match. You wonder, what about NXT UK? Why should they be left out? Well, I think Toni Storm or Rhea Ripley. Not both of them, but one of them, very likely to make an appearance here in the Royal Rumble. I think that would make sense. Of the two, I'm going to say probably Rhea. I could see Rhea Ripley making an appearance. As far as legends, you know, last year was the first one, and they felt like they had to load up on special names. So we had Trish Stratus, and we had Lita, and we had Molly Holly, and we had a few other names. I don't really know that you need Trish or Lita or those types in the match this year. I haven't heard any rumblings about them or anything like that. I just feel like we got that last year, right? And Trish got the nice pop and Lita got the nice pop. And they would here too. It's not like people would sit on their hands for them. I just don't know that we're going to see them. I don't know if there's room for them or if it's even needed for them to be in this. As far as what my plan had originally been all along for this Rumble match, it was for Becky to win. Right now, as of this moment, she is not officially in the Royal Rumble match. Although if she doesn't win the title from Asuka, she has to be. It's booking malpractice if this woman does not win the championship and does not end up in the Rumble match. That would make no sense. And if she is in it, I think she wins. But since I have Becky pegged to win back the championship from Asuka, it's like I said before, I think Ronda gets screwed out of the title in her match with Sasha. She then enters the Royal Rumble match as a surprise entrant, and she eliminates Charlotte to win the entire thing. So basically, my prediction for last year's Royal Rumble is what I'm predicting for this year's Royal Rumble. I had predicted that Rousey would debut in the company, and in her first appearance last year, they'd put her over and she'd eliminate Stephanie and win the Royal Rumble. Obviously, that didn't happen. She came out after the Rumble, which was probably the better idea. But I think that this year, I feel a little bit more confident in predicting a Rousey win this year than I did last year. I think Ronda wins the Rumble, and she chooses Becky as her opponent at WrestleMania, which is, one way that you get Ronda over to SmackDown, and you can let the two of them, build up their match going into WrestleMania. They could still worm Charlotte into that match if they really want to. I'm sure they've got just a hard-on for that triple threat match. You know that Vince wants Charlotte in that match. I don't think she needs to be in there. I would rather it be Ronda and Becky. You get some steam going again between those two. It's kind of on the back burner right now. It's been, Ronda's had her beef with Sasha. But that's going to come to an end on Sunday, win or lose. And they've got to get back to really building up this thing with Becky and Ronda. I don't care one way or the other. If they want Charlotte in there, fine. If they have a triple threat at WrestleMania, I'm sure it'll be a very good match. But I don't really care for Charlotte being involved here. The real issue for me is between Becky and Ronda. And especially if Ronda is going to disappear after WrestleMania and take an extended break, you've got to do that match. It has to be one-on-one, Ronda and Becky. But I'm picking Ronda Rousey here to win the Royal Rumble. And finally, we have the men's 30-man Royal Rumble match. Michael Cole, Corey Graves, Jerry Lawler, and JBL will be on the call for this. So make sure that your remote control has fresh batteries in it before the show starts. You're going to be wearing out your mute button. R-Truth, we know, is slated to enter at number 30. I don't know how many people actually believe that he will end up coming out at number 30. Either he'll come out in the Women's Rumble, or somebody's going to jump him and steal his number. I think some kind of shenanigans are going to go down. I would be very surprised if R-Truth actually makes it out at number 30. And we'll get some kind of a surprise, but not the winner. The winner has to be whoever enters at number 25, because I drew number 25 in our Royal Rumble pool in the Facebook group. So in both Rumbles, I am cheering for whoever enters at number 25 to win the entire thing. John Cena. John Cena is very likely out of the Royal Rumble. That's not confirmed. WWE has not said that he is out, but they said that he is questionable. And this is part of a storyline that they're doing. This is from WWE.com. They posted this on Monday. John Cena's status in the men's Royal Rumble match is in question following an apparent left ankle injury sustained during the main event on Raw 2 weeks ago. In that match, it was, if you remember the Fatal 4-Way that Balor won, Drew McIntyre had put Cena in an ankle lock. And they showed footage of Cena when it was over holding his left ankle. They gave some forethought to this, because you could see Cena favoring the ankle, and he was limping on it when the match was over. They mentioned in this update that the injury was exacerbated as Cena was training his legs at the gym. Really? Have you seen John Cena? The guy's got chicken legs. Doesn't look like a leg guy. Every time I see one of these videos, he's always doing chest, he's doing arms. Never see him doing legs. But apparently in the storyline here, he injured his leg. And so they are casting doubt on whether or not he will be in the Rumble match. Now, he is filming a movie, although not this weekend. He's starting to film a movie, I think, up in Canada starting next weekend. The real story here is that apparently, according to Meltzer, he was never even originally scheduled to be in the Rumble at all. This is like the Braun Strowman Brock Lesnar thing, where they never really had any intention of doing that match. They just wanted to try to sell tickets. Well, same thing with John Cena. They needed a big name to announce, so they announced it. And in reality, they never had any intention of him actually being part of this match. Now, it would make sense that Lars Sullivan was supposed to be the one to take him out on TV last week or the week before. He's been dealing, as we know, as we've heard, with personal issues. And so they are crediting instead Drew McIntyre as being the one to injure Cena, hurt his ankle. Again, I'm sure they would have done some kind of an injury angle with Lars instead of Drew. But with Lars out of the picture, they went with McIntyre. Triple H on the TakeOver conference call the other day was asked about Lars Sullivan. He didn't deny any of the reports. He didn't say, no, that's false, that's not true. All he said is that Lars is in a good place, and nothing has really changed, and that we would all know it when we see it. Whatever that means. But Cena is not actually hurt. This is not a real injury that he is dealing with. If they want him in the Rumble, he'll be there. I'm not saying he won't be. I'm just saying right now that doesn't sound like it's the plan. So let's look at the possibilities here in this match, shall we? Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman was removed, as we all know, from the Universal title match for fear that losing to Brock Lesnar could hurt him, which, again, I laugh so much at when I think about that, when you consider what they've done, what they have not done, all the situations that they put him in to win the championship before, and he constantly falls short. And then that awful promo a few weeks ago where he forgot his lines. I mean, they have put this guy in a position to look bad, frankly, many times. For all the times they make him look strong, they've made him look almost as bad in the last several months. And so the idea that, well, we don't want to hurt the guy, it's like, really? Have you been paying attention to what's going on here? So they didn't want to hurt him, so he didn't face Brock Lesnar here. That tells me they still have big plans for him. And if that's the case, then he's got to be one of the favorites to win the Royal Rumble. I hope not. I really don't want to see him win the Royal Rumble. I'm kind of over the entire Lesnar-Strowman thing. I have no desire to see it. I mentioned Finn Balor, speaking of possibilities. If he loses, possibly coming back out as the Demon and winning with the Demon paint on. I don't think we can discount that possibility. I think that it's very possible that that could happen. And then instead of choosing Brock Lesnar, he picks the WWE Championship to challenge for at WrestleMania. So we'll put him in the possibility column here for the Royal Rumble. We've got Randy Orton. Does Randy Orton have a realistic chance of doing what only one other man in history has done, that being Stone Cold Steve Austin, which is three-peat as a Royal Rumble winner? I sure hope not, but that's what they wanted you to think at the end of Smackdown on Tuesday night when he left Samoa Joe laying, hit an RKO out of nowhere. The fans lost their minds for Orton at the end of that show. They went nuts when he hit that RKO on Joe. Could we see AJ Styles take back the WWE Championship from Daniel Bryan and then maybe have Randy Orton win the Royal Rumble for a third time and challenge AJ for the title at WrestleMania? The two of them have never had a proper program together. They've had one or two matches on television. I think that this is, again, a very unlikely scenario, but put it in the possibility column. That would really be the only scenario if AJ won the belt back, because then at least you have a program that really hasn't been done before. But Randy Orton winning for a third time, no, I have no interest in seeing that. We have Drew McIntyre. His star is on the rise. I can't see them doing Lesnar and McIntyre, two heels at WrestleMania. But if Finn Balor were to win the championship, let's say Braun gives him the assist, Finn wins the belt, I could see Drew McIntyre challenging him for the title. I don't think that's really what I would call a strong championship match to do at WrestleMania, but I could see that happening. I still think, though, very unlikely that Drew McIntyre is winning this. I will give him some props, though. He did hit a very sweet-looking reverse Alabama slam to Seth Rollins on Monday night on the floor. I just felt like mentioning that because I thought it was cool. As far as surprises go, let's talk about surprises here. Let's get these out of the way first. No, Kenny Omega will not be in the Royal Rumble. No, Roman Reigns will not be in the Royal Rumble. Leave the man alone. The Monster Abyss. Now that's interesting. I could definitely see him as a surprise in the Royal Rumble, even if he's not coming to the company to be an active wrestler, which it doesn't sound like he is. But as a one-shot for one night only, just to be able to say that he got to wrestle in a WWE ring, why not? No reason he can't use the name. If you remember last year, Impact dropped exclusivity last year on all names and likenesses for its talents, which is why EC3 was allowed to be EC3. I'm going to talk about this story when I do the podcast, the full podcast on Sunday. I'll have more thoughts on the whole, Abyss signing with WWE situation. That one shocked me when I heard about it. I got to tell you, when I saw that news item yesterday, that one blew me away. That was a name I never thought would leave Impact. So I'll talk more about that on Sunday. But what other surprise? What about surprises from NXT? Absolutely. We're going to see at least one, if not two, I think, NXT names in the Royal Rumble. I see the name Velveteen Dream being thrown around. I think it's very likely that Velveteen Dream will make an appearance. He's running his own angle right now on social media where he's very upset that he has not been recruited to the main roster. Be careful what you wish for, Velveteen Dream. But he's very upset. He has not been drafted or recruited over to Raw or SmackDown. And he says until such time that he and WWE can come to an agreement on what his worth is, he will not be making any appearances. And he went and he locked his Twitter account. He locked it. He put it on private. Again, last year, we had Andrade Cien Almas as the NXT champion. He and Adam Cole were the two NXT surprises who made appearances in the Royal Rumble. Almas didn't win, but he looked strong. He was in there for about 30 minutes. He had a good showing. I think Velveteen Dream is certainly one option for this year. And there's another name that I really haven't seen mentioned, but I would not sleep on this as a possibility that he will be making an appearance in the Royal Rumble on Sunday. I think there's as much of a chance of him being there as Velveteen Dream, and that guy is Matt Riddle. I think we may well see Matt Riddle make an appearance in the Royal Rumble on Sunday. What about Mustafa Ali? Do I think Mustafa Ali has a shot at winning the Royal Rumble? Not really, no. Very slim. Although, again, I wish they would consider going with a surprise underdog pick. None of these other names I've mentioned, Strowman, McIntyre, these aren't underdogs. What a great story it would be for Mustafa Ali to go in there and win the Royal Rumble. Not going to happen. But it would make for a good story. That promo, by the way, that little video they aired for him on Tuesday during Smackdown, before his match with Samoa Joe, I know a friend of his, a fellow wrestler, helped him shoot that. That was tremendous. That is the sort of thing I'd like to see them doing more of on these shows. I'd like to see Ali get the Iron Man spot. Not win the whole thing. He's not going to win, but I'd like to see him get the Iron Man spot this year. He doesn't have to eliminate a whole bunch of people like Kane or Roman Reigns did in the past, but, let him go in there and get the Almas spot from last year's match. Let him go 30, 40 minutes. I think they should give that spot this year to Mustafa Ali. And give us a face-off at some point during the Rumble between Ali and Seth Rollins. Ali is basically Rollins, but with some really cool light-up gear. So I think the two of them side by side, face-to-face like that's a confrontation I'd like to see. Which brings me to Seth Rollins. Seth Rollins may be the obvious choice, but he is my choice, my pick, my prediction to win this year's men's Royal Rumble match. As he pointed out during his promo on Raw last Monday, 2 months ago, he had 2 titles and 2 brothers. Now, he has no titles and what he called a broken family. Aw. He has been taking little pot shots and digs at Brock Lesnar being an absentee champion now for many months. He has a history with Brock Lesnar, including at WrestleMania. And he is the only member of the Shield that Brock Lesnar has never pinned or made to submit in a one-on-one match. Yes, he pinned him in the triple threat at the Rumble, ironically. 4 years ago at the Rumble, he ate the pin in the triple threat match, but I'm talking one-on-one. Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. Brock has never beaten him. Straight up one-on-one. The only Shield member who can say that. There's a history there. Now, if I'm looking at Seth Rollins and Braun Strowman as the two most logical picks here in this match, he is the better, Rollins is, of the 2 choices. I go with Rollins as being the guy to beat the Beast. Although, there is another scenario here. It's the one that I mentioned before that I had pitched a few weeks ago, which is that Rollins wins the Royal Rumble, AJ Styles wins back the WWE Championship, and instead of choosing Brock Lesnar, Rollins chooses to wrestle AJ Styles at WrestleMania. First time ever match in WWE. And that way, if they really want to do Braun Strowman and Brock Lesnar, I'm not enamored with it, but on the Raw side, they can get to Brock Lesnar and Braun Strowman if that's the match that they want to do. And then once WrestleMania is over, you send AJ to Raw. You're not going to have AJ and Rollins permanently on the same brand. You basically swap them. Rollins goes to SmackDown, becomes the champion, and then post-Mania, AJ goes to Raw. That also works. So I think the match, at the end of the day, I think they're going to go with the safe choice. They're going to go with the obvious choice. I think the WrestleMania match is going to be Brock Lesnar and Seth Rollins. And Seth Rollins is my pick to win the 2019 Royal Rumble match. Now, somebody posted in the Facebook group that Becky Lynch, I don't know if they came up with this or they got this from somewhere, but their idea was that Becky Lynch should win the men's Royal Rumble because she calls herself the man. I cannot even begin to imagine all of the male fans, especially the ones who hate this woman's gimmick or hate women's wrestling. I cannot believe the reaction from all of the men who would have an absolute meltdown if that actually happened. It would be pretty dumb. I mean, let's be honest here. I mean, it would be pretty dumb given that they don't allow men to even fight back against the women. Could I see them doing it? You know what? I put nothing past them. I put nothing past these people. You could have Charlotte win the women's Royal Rumble. Becky loses to Asuka. She enters the men's Rumble, wins it. Both women then can lay claim to challenging Ronda Rousey at WrestleMania, and boom, there's your triple threat match. You know, people post these things as gags, like kayfabe news type stuff, but you got to be careful not to give them any ideas. Although I have to say, it would be worth it just to see Road Warrior Animal's reaction. Just to see Road Warrior Animal's head explode. Face paint flies everywhere. Shoulder spikes go flying. That'd be great. So that's your Royal Rumble card for this Sunday. On paper, I think it looks like a pretty strong card. I like the Royal Rumble. We've had some pretty horrible ones. We've had some pretty good ones in the last several years. I'm hoping this is on the good side. I like the whole baseball stadium, atmosphere. I'm looking forward to this show. I've got my fingers crossed. I've got my guard up. WWE has let me down in these situations before. I'm trying not to get my hopes up too much. It's hard, man. It's hard to fuck up the Royal Rumble. They've done it before. They have managed to do it more than once. But it's a hard thing to fuck up the Royal Rumble. I think it's going to be a fun show. Looking forward to it.